Not only have I not been able to travel, mostly because of the whole Rona thing going on right now, I've been out of internet for a minute. How long of a minute? A month-long minute. That's a long-ass minute, okay? So let me take you back to before the beginning. So, I used to have this internet provider called Blue Ridge Communications. And, technically, they're just Penn Teledata's internet access rebranded, but I digress. They're hot-ass trash. Let me help you visualize this for a moment. Okay, so there's kitchen trash. That doesn't smell good, but you put a lid on it, That's not as bad. That still doesn't smell that great, especially if it's been building up for a while. Then there's like compost, right? Open mound compost that's just been sitting there for months. That's a terrible smell, right? Here, and then here, it's progressively getting worse, right? So, Blue Ridge Communications, hot-ass trash. All the fucking way over there. Just to help you visualize the level of trash that we're dealing with here, which is, I actually should be going this way because it's hot-ass trash, terrible service, whatever, let's pretend. So they've always had this terrible, overpriced internet that just seems to conveniently go down every single time for maintenance whenever I'm about to do something important. Coincidence or conspiracy? I mean, it's probably just a coincidence, but it's also annoying. So I'm gonna go with conspiracy. It got to the point where there was daily outages. Like every single day, it could just go down for like 2 minutes, it could go down for 2 hours. It's frustrating, and there was no rhyme or reason as to why it's going down, and it wasn't even an issue with my router so much as it was just an issue with their service. Maybe I had to do with the service that I was provided in the area that I got and the way it went, I don't know, but I got fed up with it and decided to cancel my service once the contract ended. So up until about like 2 months ago, we've only had one other provider in our area, and that was Windstream. Now, Windstream had a reputation for being, how do I put this? The hottest ass trash that you could possibly think of. Like, remember that scale? Pull it back a little bit. Remember that scale of the kitchen, the compost, fucking Blue Ridge? Take that beyond that, a little bit more, and that is Windstream. So they recently upgraded to a fiber network, so I thought I'd give them a chance. Put a pin on that one, because we're coming back to that in this video. So the newcomer in town is Comcast, and we've never had them as an internet provider in the area before, and they've been trying for years, and they finally got access, I don't know, whatever permits or whatever they needed to be able to sell in this market. Comcast kind of seems like one of those divisive companies that you either love them or you hate them, and there's not really any meh in between, at least from the people that I've talked to. I don't know personally, because I've never had any personal experience with them, so I decided to go with Windstream instead of Comcast, just because Comcast was an unknown, and a friend of mine had told me that Windstream has gotten a lot better over the years than they used to be in the past. And also, Windstream was cheaper, and there's no contract involved. You pay month to month. I don't want to say it's a prepaid internet provider service, because that seems a little weird to me, but it's kind of, you can think of it, as like a prepaid internet service provider. There's someone calling me. So if they still turned out to be the hottest trash around, then, I could just hop on over to Comcast, because there's no contract. There's nothing going to stop me. So I ordered a gig internet, which was significantly cheaper than definitely Blue Ridge, but even Comcast, it was a gig down for only $60 a month. And compare that to Blue Ridge, where I was getting $250 down, which is a quarter of the speed, for $75 on a promo price. My promo price was ending because the contract was ending, and it was going to be like $95 a month. The earliest day I could get the installation for was 3 days after my contract ended with Blue Ridge. So, okay, that's fine, right? 2 days without internet. I can handle that, right? Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, two days without internet. Yeah. So literally the night before they were to come to install the internet, I get an email saying, hey, we've pushed your installation date out 2 weeks. right there should have been a red flag. They gave me some bullshit excuse about how they needed to work on the back end and do some work on the lines in the area before they could provide me with the speed at which I wanted to, that I had ordered. You would think that they would have figured that out, I don't know, fucking 3 weeks beforehand when I had ordered it, or maybe just not told me hours before the installation that they're going to push it for 2 weeks because they have back-end work. Anyway, I'm thinking, okay, this sucks, but at least it's only 2 more weeks, right? So fast forward 3 days before the next installation that they told me that they had moved it to, they sent me another email with the exact same explanation and said, now it's been moved to the end of the month. Hell fucking no. I mean, at least this time they gave me the courtesy of like telling me 3 days beforehand and not literally hours beforehand. So I called them up and they tell me that they put in an order for copper pipes to be able to put fiber in my area. Are you telling me I just ordered internet that you can't even provide for me because it's not even here? So I'm trying not to get upset with customer service because I know it's not their fault. They're just answering phone calls. They can't do anything about it. It's not their fault that the company they work for decided that they were going to sell me a service that they can't even provide. Is there any way that I could just get a slower speed until you get the copper pipes in, so that I'd at least have some kind of internet? Because at this point now, it's been 2 weeks since I've been out of internet. So they put me on hold and they get back to me and they're like, well, the best we can do is offer you 25 megs. So I ordered a gig down. And you want to give me 25 megabits per second. That is the fastest speed you could possibly give me? Oh, no. Canceled. I am clearly not waiting around for them since, they literally offered me the service since I moved in to this place over a year ago. A year ago, they were offering this gig down fiber network, and they still don't have the copper pipes. Over a year. How long were they gonna make me wait for copper pipes to get installed so that I can have this service? So I went to Comcast's website. I promptly ordered Comcast internet, and they said they would be here within 3 days. Holla fucking Luya. Things are finally turning around. And also, before I hit the confirm order, I called them up and I was like, hey man, this is what happened with Windstream. I want to make sure that you guys can actually provide me with the service that you say you can provide me with, and you're not just gonna put it off indefinitely like someone else did. So over the next few days, they sent me, honestly, they overcompensated for Windstream's undercompensation because they sent me multiple texts and different calls and things that basically confirmed my appointment was going to happen, and this is happening, and it's happening on this day at the exact time that we agreed upon. So the day comes, the guy shows up, and he asked me a few different questions like, are we still with Blue Ridge, and do I have a modem, and all the other stuff, and I'm like, no. He's like, cool, I'm just gonna go to the back and I'm gonna check on your cable box, and that's hooked up to the complex, except there was no cable box. He took me outside and he showed me, and he's like, hey, so here's the telephone pole, about 7 feet away from the apartment complex that you live in. Here's where your cable box should be. It's not there. If you look up at the power line, right there, the little telephone pole, see that little box? Yeah, that's Blue Ridge. See that little box? That's Comcast. Now see the wires that are going down? And you see the back of the house here? There's a cable box for Blue Ridge, but there's no cable box for Comcast. So good news, it is in your area, like we had said. Bad news, We never checked to see if that your complex could actually receive any, Comcast signals. So we're gonna have to call your landlord and get permission to dig up the little land, that 7-foot stretch of land, to put wiring there, and then install a cable box into the back of your house so that you can actually receive internet access from us. Side note, when he showed me that, there was no box for Windstream. So he goes through some phone calls and he's like, hey, I can actually just call the landlord for you to get approval. That way you don't have to do this back and forth with us, and we could just schedule everything with him and then it'll be taken care of. So that the most you'll have to wait is 3 days max once it's installed. I'm thinking, fantastic. My landlord's pretty cool. He'll say yes immediately, and then within a week, I'll have internet access. There's one thing he didn't tell me though. He forgot to mention that he doesn't just need permission from the landlord to dig up the little area, but he also needs permission from the borough to access the power line. Get ready for some government bureaucracy at its finest. So a week and a half goes by, and nothing happens. Nothing at all. I'm like, there's nothing, there's no cable box installed. I'm like, what's going on here? At this point, it's now getting close to about a month of not having internet access, which is ridiculous. So I'm searching for a way online to contact Comcast, which, as it turns out, is a bitch and a half. See, Comcast works as a franchise, so there's no direct number I can call for corporate for issues like this. And there's an app, and they have one of those automated virtual assistant things that give you an automated response based on things you wanted to say. But normally, when you tell those automated assistants a question and it doesn't have an answer for it, they connect you with customer service through that, and then you'll get your issue solved. Their virtual assistant is literally only capable of answering the few set answer questions that may arise that are basically just have you click through the app to see all the things. Entirely useless. I finally find a number just hidden away in a million different places because my local Comcast branch not only does not have a phone number to call, but an email address either for me to email. So after this convoluted journey of trying to find a way to contact my local Comcast franchise, I call them up. It's an automated service. I get through all the automated service, and luckily, it then connects me to a real person. Fantastic! Now I'm finally getting my answers, is what I wish I could tell you, but that's not what happened. They basically had absolutely no idea as to what the progress was of the installation. All they knew was the tentative date that I had for my installation once they had finally installed the cable box onto the house. So I text my landlord and I'm like, hey, so Comcast was supposed to be doing this thing. Is there any updates you could give me on this? I don't know if they've even contacted you outside of is this okay? And he's like, yeah, I approved it, and now we're just waiting on the borough to come and install the wires as the next step. As if the borough knew that the anarchist inside me was raging, the first guy came the very next morning. But what's that? Oh, the first guy. Yeah. So here's the thing with bureaucracy, is that nothing is ever that simple, and everything gets dragged out to infinity. Why have one person do something effectively when you can just have 20 people do something inefficiently over the course of an extended period of time? That's called job security, folks. The first guy shows up to survey the land and take some photos. Survey that 7-foot stretch of land between the house and the telephone cable. A few days pass, and the second guy comes to put down those stupid little orange flags everywhere. The ones that they mark off for future development, but then don't actually develop anything for months. Third guy comes, and he puts even more of those stupid little fucking orange flags down, but this time they say this on it. A buried cable, because that's what's under those flags currently. They also spray painted some lines in the grass of possible routes that they could put the wire in that 7-foot stretch of land, because apparently a straight line is just far too easy. The fourth set of guys come along and they actually install the cables into the ground. Don't get too excited yet. See, they came and installed the housing under the ground, and they put some hay over top of it so you know that there's cables there, because the flags weren't good enough, because then they removed the flags. Why have the flags there when you put the flags down for the buried cable and then the cable was installed and then you remove the flags? Why? I don't know. But they stopped short of actually installing that cable from cable they installed in the ground to the house and to the power line. Just in case you forgot who we were dealing with here, the fifth set of guys comes in. These guys show up and they finally connect the rest of the wiring up and install the cable box so that we can actually have access to the greater system of interconnected networks. The internet, if you will. Now you might be thinking this whole saga is starting to come to an end, everything's finally wrapping up, but I'm sure you can see the timeline. It's not over yet. So I got an email from Windstream saying that my appointment was rescheduled. Appointment. I'm pretty sure I canceled that order. Great. Now I have to call Windstream yet again. So I go through the hoops of calling up the automated system, finally get through to a person. He picks up and in the least enthusiastic and most monotone voice ever says, "Hello, this is Rob." No. Actually, that's a little too enthusiastic. He says, "Hello, this is Rob." Just like that. I'm sure he made that exact same face and everything. So I can already see where this conversation is going to go. I don't want to bother explaining how I called before and canceled. I'm just like, you know what? Let me just get straight to the point. Hi, I called before about canceling an order and I'd like to make sure it's canceled. He says, with continued disinterest, do you want to put it on hold or do you want to cancel it outright? Why would I want to put it on hold? The next thing he says is this garbled mess of word vomit that's like, and I'm like, what did you just say? It literally, I froze because it took a few seconds to process what he was even trying to say. Like, did he say, I put in a cancel for your order by, or please hold, I'm putting in a cancellation for you? It was literally, my mind was blown that he could say something with so little enthusiasm so quickly, all the while I'm trying to, parse the thoughts in my head as to what exactly just happened. I can hear him clicking away on the keyboard in the background, so I'm thinking, okay, he must have just told me to put me on hold while he cancels it. But then, a few seconds later, he's talking to his coworker, very obviously not aware that I'm still on the line. And after about 3 seconds, he realizes I'm still on the line and ends the call. Clearly, it was the first thing I thought, that he canceled it and told me bye. So here's what's happening. Since I haven't really gotten any actual response from these people as to what's going on, this communication service is not very communicative, I realized what happened was that there were 2 separate order numbers. When I called to cancel the first time, they canceled my order, and then they put in a new order for that shitty deal they gave me with the 25 megs down, so I had to cancel that order as well. I'm just hoping that's the end of that. It's been another week, and I've not heard anything from them. So the Comcast guy finally comes. This is the last guy. Hopefully, right? He comes, and he's like, hey, okay, I'm gonna go check on the back, just like the first guy did before, and we're gonna install some stuff. And he's back there for a while, and I get a little nervous, because I'm thinking, okay, it's been like 20 minutes. I know he's got to do a lot of things, connecting stuff, and I'm sure he's probably just mostly sitting there waiting for responses back, but it's getting to me now. And just when I was about to go out and be like, hey, everything going okay? Because I don't want to have this saga go on for another few more episodes. I'd like this to be the final episode. He comes in and he's like, all right, everything's all set up. Here's your modem. Let's just set a password and Wi-Fi name for everything, blah, blah, blah. Goes through the normal things, and I'm like, okay, you ready? Connect. It turns on. I get on my computer, and I connect. Oh, yes. Sweet, sweet internet access. I don't know what that was. It's fine. It doesn't matter. That's my sound of elation. Because I finally have internet access. He then tells me, right before he leaves, like, okay, so we got to do a little bit more maintenance on the power line, and yeah, you might notice a little bit of an interruption in your internet service, but it shouldn't be more than 20 minutes. I'm like, please don't do this. Please don't do this. The next day they came, and they must have come like pretty early on in the day because it was never interrupted at all. So I'm excited. You have no idea. I waited over a month. I mean, you do have an idea. I just went through the whole saga with you. Over a month of these ups and downs with all these different people, and finally have internet access. Nothing's been interrupted. I've had no outages. I've had no like lapse in speed where I'm not getting the speed that I'm supposed to be getting, and coverage around the house is fantastic. It's great. So I thought I'd just kind of share this story because as frustrating as it was in the moment, I wanted to document it because I know some of you might have similar experiences or worse experiences, or, you know, even if it's not relatable to you, you can find some kind of humor in it. I can, now that time has passed. I don't know. That's my story. So if you enjoyed this video and you like the story and you want maybe to hear more stories from me, I've got plenty of stories about things in my life, and just leave a comment, let me know, or comment any of your similar experiences with this situation, or maybe if you would have handled the situation a little different than I did. Maybe you would have said, fuck you, Windstream earlier, and said, no, I'm just going with Comcast. Until I make another video. Subscribe if you haven't. See you later. Bye.